So then I started looking up Teal's videos, and that's when I started looking at everything she taught. And, she seems to have the answer. She seems to know what she's talking about, and she's very convincing. She's a great speaker, and she's a very, she's very good at that. And so I'd watch her videos, I read her book, and then I went to go see her in Park City. Actually, I think this was
What about
before.
her teachings were interesting to you? Like, go into a little bit, some of the pillars.
She just has answers for everything and everything. She's just
Give
like
us 4 or 5 examples.
Man, just that, what this life's all about, your life purpose. You feel better when you're doing your life purpose. Follow your bliss. As you do what makes you happy, everything will work out. And so I literally just tried to think of anything that would make me happy for years and try to do that. And it just wouldn't work. Like nothing would work.
But when she's talking about those things, it sounds very appealing. And are you finding her on YouTube?
Yeah, she's on YouTube.
She's on YouTube by this point. So what year about is this?
So I actually started looking up her information before I was suicidal. So like in 2011 or 12, I started, I think it was 11 or even before that, 2010 maybe, because I think I was suicidal in 11 to 12. That's when I quit my job, I think. So I looked up her stuff, and I went and bought her paintings. So her paintings supposedly can like heal you if you look at them, because everything's a frequency and these rocks and crystals. And so I would go, there was a guy in Pleasant Grove that did like crystals and all sorts of stuff. And I'd go talk to him and try to get insight into life and how to become a better person. And
what does it mean to do crystals?
So each crystal and rock has like an energy that if you have a problem with this, you got to take this crystal. It's kind of like the saints, there's like a thing for everything and you got to take it.
So give us some examples. X crystal does what? Why?
Selenite helps to open up your chakra, and the rose quartz helps open up your heart chakra, and this one helps open up your sacral chakra, and this and that. So I think, and if you hold them, it will protect you against, negative vibrations or
what are chakras?
There's like energy points on the body, like these energy points that you've got to open up. And if you open them all up, then you become enlightened, which is not true, but.
Okay. So this belief in chakras, this belief in sort of energy paths, the idea that energy can be blocked. These are sort of superstitious ways of describing people's emotional turmoil and obstacles. Mm-hmm. And then
making
things like, for some it's essential oils, for some it's
essential
crystals.
Oils. Yeah, I got
What about
tons of
essential
those.
oils?
Oh yeah, I got tons of those. You put those on to help with
like
stuff. So you would put like peppermint on, or like your head, and then you would put a rock on there. I mean, I had some friends that were like into all this, and so they'd come and we'd do like all sorts of hippie stuff, like breathing, like where you breathe, hyperventilate, and then you start to see stuff because I don't know if you're depriving your brain of oxygen or what you're doing, but so that was like a big thing. And then, just like
oils, crystals, chakras,
all this stuff.
Energy.
Yeah. Trying to find inner peace, trying to find happiness, trying to find healing, trying to become a better person.
And so you said you went to a guy that something about her painting, and her paintings had the power to help you unblock some of your clogged chakras.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's what.
So you go to this guy. You were going to tell the story.
Teal. Sorry, I went to Teal Swan.
You went to her.
Yeah, I went to her in like 2010.
Well, you talked about a guy in Pleasant Grove.
Oh, that was another guy. Yeah, he wrote a book about what is God and all this stuff, and he had all these answers and with these groups. And
so he was another guru.
Yeah, he was another guru, and he had like a little store where he sell a bunch of stuff that would help you, like crystals and I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
And magic.
Okay. So you're looking into crystals, chakras, essential oils, all these paintings, Teal, other gurus, just trying to feel better. Mm-hmm. How does that continue? You find out about Teal.
So sorry. So I'm obviously great at telling stories.
No, you're great.
No, I mean, great. Some of this happened before I became suicidal. So 2010, I was into some of this stuff, and then I became suicidal in like 2011 in that instant. And so, and then I reached out for help and tried to see people to help me with like alternative medicine healers type people. So like sound therapy and Reiki, and just any type of therapy person.
And what's Reiki? Tell us what Reiki is.
So like they put their
You lie down
hands,
on a table.
yeah, and they put their hands.
You think
over
it's like a masseuse, right?
Yeah,
but it's not. What is it?
They put their hands over you, and you can like feel the energy, or the body warmth. You can feel the body warmth while they go around your body and stuff like that.
And then what do they say they're doing?
Well, it's just, I mean, like, I'm not sure if they were actually certified in the right way of doing it, but each person I went to was kind of like, it's kind of like a talk therapy mixed in with it. So you would talk about your issues. Some of them would like suck the energy with their hands out of like your stomach, and they would say things like, oh, I see a black dog. And I'm like, oh, I had a black little dog when I was little. Or, you'd piece things together and make sense of your life and all sorts of things.
And couldn't they kind of, there's this idea of they could unclog your chakras. And
Yeah,
if they
exactly.
talk to you in the right way, and if they put their hands over you in the right parts of your body, they would unclog your spiritual chakra.
Yeah, exactly.
And and then if they unclogged parts of your chakras, what would happen?
If everything got unclogged, then eventually you'd be enlightened. And if you were high enough vibration, then you could see auras and see the future and all sorts of crazy. I mean, enlightenment was the goal.
Okay, so that's really important. So there's this idea that if you reach this right vibration with the right type of enlightenment, you have special powers.
Yeah.
Which is what Teal claims. She claims she has this third eye, and she has clairvoyance, and she can see the future, make prophecy. And this goes back to Mormonism, like the ability to prophesy, right? The ability to channel spirits or special powers, or to see to the future, or to have special insight. I mean, this is the core to how cults emerge, right? Is people who claim to have these special powers. So, and then also kind of sell to the members that they can also achieve enlightenment like the gurus do.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned Reiki. You're a great storyteller. I keep wanting to learn about things you mentioned, so I'm the one derailing you from your story. But it's because I want to be educated. I want to be educated.
Oh, you're fine. I've just been jumping around. But I met Teal in 2010. We bought paintings. I went to their house. I met I think Blake and Mark there, and their little boy, I think, and what else happened? Oh, I bought a painting, and they started talking to me like, oh, once you leave Mormonism, then you're going to learn so much stuff and all sorts of things. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I wanted to know what they knew that I didn't, that made them happier and have a successful life. So anyways, I became suicidal, and I was looking for answers. And then I reached out to Teal, like, hey, I'd love to be able to talk to her. And they were like, oh, she's not seeing any clients. And I said, okay, I've just been feeling really suicidal, and I was just wondering if there's anything she could do to help. And so they're like, oh, yes, she can totally help you. So she invited me over.
Well, okay, wait, that's important. So you didn't have access to her unless they could detect that you were in a really severely debilitated state. And I just want to say that, in Mormonism, it was the refugees from Europe who were, the potato famine and poverty in Europe. All these people in poverty, they were brought to Nauvoo or Kirtland under this promise of like a happier, healthier life. But part of what cults often do is they prey, and I'm not calling Mormonism a cult, but some of these are cult traits. And, cults prey on the highly vulnerable people, the people who are down and out. And that's an important ingredient, because how does David Koresh or Jim Jones or whoever get such loyalty? It's because they take people when they're so low and then bring them into a relationship and into a community to sort of save them. And then those people feel very loyal and committed and dedicated to them because they feel like they were saved. Is all that right? Or,
I mean, like in this instance, it wasn't. Yeah, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
What was it for you? I don't need you to fit the pattern.
But so in this instance, she was coming in, like I was going to her house. She walked me up into her room and laid me down on her bed and lifted up my shirt and did chakra stuff, healing or whatever on my stomach, and tried to get me.
Did you have to pay to have this experience?
Yes, it was like $150 or whatever, and or I can't remember, or maybe she. Yeah.
And if a woman, an attractive woman is like putting me on a bed, lifting my shirt, and putting her arms over me, as a Mormon, ex-Mormon. Like that. I'm not saying there's something sexual there, but in your mind.
Oh yeah, no. Well,
what's going on in your mind?
She later said that like obviously like how could you not know that was sexual or something like that? I totally wanted you to sleep with me or whatever.
She said that to you?
Yeah, but I mean everything. She said a bunch of lies later, so I trust everything with like just a grain of salt. Sorry, she said a bunch of lies later and stuff.
But at the time, just going with the story, she lies you down on a bed. She's putting her arm. She's doing Reiki basically over you with your shirt up.
Yeah, touching me.
And what's that like for you?
I'm very like I don't. Yeah, I'm very like I'm not sure what's going on. Like I'm uncomfortable. Like I don't know what. Is she turned on? Like, is she coming on to me? Does she want me? Does she not? Like, I don't know. I just try not to be a
But when she was done,
my stomach felt a little bit better. She had been pressing on it, and that's where the pain for like suicide had come from. It's come from this, and it's like I think it's just came also because of a lack of like confidence and like stress, like because I had quit my job because my life was in shambles because of so much pain. Like it would, as soon as I like got a real full-time job and started working again and started feeling good about myself, I started to feel better down there. But anyway, so she had put on like music and was talking to me and telling me all this stuff. And that was it. That was just like a treatment with her, and I left. So, and then so things, I'm trying to think of where, yeah. So in 2012, I think I was just kind of like not working and my parents were supporting me. I was just kind of a loaf / out of it. Like, I think a lot of the problems I was having was because of my diet, because I was being like, I found now that getting enough B vitamins, like eating total cereal every day for breakfast has really helped me mentally and has helped me feel better.
But you were avoiding, are you saying you were avoiding foods that were probably important for your nutrition?
Exactly.
Trying to do these more extreme diets because it would unclog your chakras. And
exactly.
Increase your frequency.
And
so what foods were you avoiding? I guess you were vegan and vegetarian.
Yeah, like anything. And I definitely have times when I'd slip up and mess up and then I'd be like, oh, I feel bad. So it's like I took the same like principles like of like, oh, you can't do this, and if you do this you got to repent and feel bad, and I would just kind of continue with new age stuff. So it's like there's these new rules that you have to do, and if
instead of it being about sex, it's about food.
It's about food, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to like repent and feel better and like, you know, oh my gosh, I should not have eaten that.
And what were the things you couldn't eat?
Just anything that was like unpure.
What were the big no-nos?
Like,
give us some examples.
A Jack in a Box, anything like, I don't know, fast food, a shake or whatever. And I got down, like I weigh 192 right now. I was 140 pounds.
What?
Yeah, I was like super skinny, anorexic looking. And
that does things to your brain, right?
Like paranoia, depression, like all sorts of, I was isolating so much. And I still have struggled with that over the last years, but it's gotten way better. So,
okay. So
I'm isolating. So I'm living in St. George at my stepdad and my mom's house, and they're just the nicest, most patient people ever. I'm just a nutcase. Anyways, and so I'm listening and watching Teal's videos and learning more and more about on YouTube, learning more and more about it. And so you could call it.
Do you remember what types of videos were like really impressionable to you at the time?
Oh man, they were just.
Again, you said like life's purpose and.
Yeah, I don't know. You just watch them over and over again because you're wanting to raise your vibration. You're trying to do things. There's like even like all these different weird videos like, oh, watch this and it will raise your vibration. And so people, like all these con artists, it's really smart. I mean, I don't think necessarily all of them are cons, but it's really smart to make a YouTube video that says that so you can convince people to.
And I'll just show, I've got YouTube open. So I'm reverse sorting our YouTube page by date. So 9 years ago, her first video was "What religion are you?" Then it's when did your extrasensory gifts appear? Extrasensory sight, the spiritual catalyst's opinion of war. What is the meaning of life? Create your own reality. Happiness is important. Ghosts in the afterlife. What is the source? Then it goes to like the spiritual catalyst. She's calling herself. Is killing wrong? What are emotions? So she's getting into psychology a little bit. She talks about drug use. She ends up talking about masturbation. And she's for it, by the way. What happens when we die? So she's basically, in her early videos, it's part psychology, pop psychology. It's part spirituality. It's part just dealing with the major existential questions. It's part life coach.
Everything.
But she's basically just, as many videos as she can crank out to kind of get people interested.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. And
how to lose weight, the divine feminine.
Everything.
Yeah. Okay.
It's yeah.
So you're feasting on her videos, and what is that?
So then she starts talking about how she's joining like a multi-level, and for some reason that just really pissed me off, and I got really fired up, and I just told her, hey, I want to help. So it's like I became active and did this. It wasn't, I don't know. So like
Multi-level, you said multi-level. What were you saying?
Multi-level marketing. She gets into that to help fund her business because she wants to help change the world and make it a better place. And I want to do that too. But really, I mean, like whoever has that mentality, I feel like a part of them want to make their own lives better. And and they're trying to project that onto their view of the world and fix it that way. But,
and I'm just showing on the video now, one of her videos, and it's got her in a halter top, and it's got like stars and heaven swirling around behind her, a real kind of mystic, guru-ish kind of thing. And she is attractive, I'm going to say. So, yeah. Okay, so money's always a part of this. So you're saying some multi-level marketing thing?
Oh yeah. So she was like, once she had said that, I was like, I want to help make your TLI business come true. Like I want to help lead it. I want to help do it. And so I built her like a new website.
So you volunteered?
Yeah, I volunteered. Yeah. So I volunteered to become a part of this because like the world was in pain and we needed to make it a better place because I was in pain. So.
Yeah. And so if she's talking about this mission of wanting to alleviate suffering, that's one of the things you mentioned this earlier too. What gurus do is they hook into this narrative of like, oh, the world's bad, the world's dangerous, the world's scary. There's so much pain in the world. There's too much sadness, misery, depression, anxiety, suicide. And I want to make it better. And I have the power to make it better. So it's a mission and it's her leadership that make you feel like you want to be a part of it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because she's.
And by the way, it's the same thing with Jim Jones, David Koresh. I'm sure even Joseph Smith would have tapped into those same sorts of things because it's what lots of people do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Keep going. So you offered to do her web stuff. Do you meet her then, or?
No, so I'm in St. George. I offer to do it. So I build her website. I do this stuff. And then I say, yeah, let's get people together. Let's bring people together to help take care of you and live your life. Because she's like, it's hard to do the dishes. There's all this stuff here. And so I'm basically like helping build like a cult, I guess. I don't know. Because she already had like few guys there, and so I helped bring more people. And later one of her ex-husbands was like, yeah, thanks for doing that. I had to like always, every decision was won by everyone, and like thanks for inviting people there. So anyways, Tealers that wanted to go, we got them together and we moved to where her place was to create a communal family, because that was like the best way to live according to her, was like with a group of your friends and like being in a communal family. And I actually do agree with that. Like living with friends and family or people that you love is a great thing, but not in this scenario. It wasn't that. It was much worse. So
let's do something with the narrative. Let's back up and let's have you tell us what you know about her story. So take us to, and I know it's going to be incomplete, but let's just say starting from what you know about her birth onward. So tell us what you know, having lived with her for a couple of years. What do you know about her story?
Okay, so her parents were, great people. They're just
so
regular.
She was born in New Mexico.
Yeah,
she was raised in Logan.
She has a brother. She was raised in Logan. She loved to horseback ride.
Do you know anything about her parents' profession?
I think her dad worked in the Forest Service, or maybe they both worked in the Forest Service for a while.
Both parents?
Yeah, because she would talk about going out like in the cabin, like they would go out into the place where they're stationed. They just live out there and have a great time. But like her parents were always just trying to do whatever they could, I think, to help be the best. And they're like, But then, so she was friends with like a veterinarian that was down there, and so, anyways, she met Blake when she had moved out.
Okay, wait. High school. Can you tell us anything about her adolescence and high school years?
Yeah, she dated some guys.
I mentioned self-harm.
Yeah.
She eventually, she was probably suicidal, and I know that she at some point adopted the narrative of satanic ritual abuse. So what can you?
Oh yeah, but
what can you tell us about her adolescence or childhood?
That most likely didn't happen. I mean, like, because of different events and missing pieces.
How would you describe what happened in her adolescence?
She was just
because you mentioned Barbara
childhood.
Snow.
Oh yeah, but I mean, okay, so like as a child, she was with her brother, and if I would like later on, she would say things like, "Oh yeah, I definitely saw an alien this time, but don't talk to my brother about it because it really upsets him." Like, "Oh yeah, this definitely happened, but don't talk to my parents about it because of this." Or, you know, like basically just like ways of lying about something, and then like making sure I didn't verify and fact check her.
So she didn't want you talking to her parents or brother about her past.
Or the person that she claimed sexually abused her and did this whole ritual thing. Because I think a part of her knew that it wasn't real, so she really didn't.
What was the story? Because you're telling us how she talked about the story, but what was the general story?
The story was that she met this guy, and this guy her parents let her sleep over with him and hang out with him all the time, supposedly. I don't think her parents did. I actually don't know. But that he was a terrible like abuser, and he did all these horrible things to her. He'd like program her to wake up at exactly like 4 a.m. and walk down the stairs and walk out her bedroom window when she was a little girl, and they'd go and do horrible things. And it was just like more
physical and sexual abuse.
Sexual abuse, yeah, cult stuff, kill people, hurt people, all sorts of stuff. And
so
it just
killing people?
Oh yeah, it would just get bigger and bigger every time she talks about it.
So what do you mean kill people?
Just that. Like, I mean, anything they would create, like her story just got crazier and wilder.
But tell
every
us
time.
some of the details that would be in the story.
Okay, so there was a place that she was kept. It was like a hole in the ground, and she was kept with like stinging nettle, and she was like tortured in there. Like you said the thing where she was like stored inside of a cadaver's body because he worked in like whatever, and he would take. She would say he would take children, like children walking down the street in this town in Idaho where there was like nobody. There's no children walking down the street. It was like he lived far away from everyone. We looked him up, and I think one of the girls that left too contacted him, and he was just like, I don't know what this is all about, but I just live out here. It's pretty chill. And anyways, so yeah.
You were mentioning the cadaver, like.
Yeah, he would go and take kids and like, and she was like whored out and prostituted out. Like at all hours of the night, like for all of her childhood, and her parents just never knew she was even gone. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, so like in theory there is, I mean, of course, not in theory, in reality there's sexual trafficking.
Oh yeah,
that's a reality.
Yeah.
There's child abuse. There is child prostitution. There is rape. There is torture. Like all that exists in the world. Mm-hmm. So what is it that makes you now feel like it wasn't, that story that she told wasn't actually true? Because if it is true, it's horrible that you're basically saying that it wasn't if she is in fact a real victim.
It's really sad.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm a monster if I'm saying that.
Right? So what makes you feel comfortable saying you don't really believe those claims, knowing that one of the worst things, I'd say there's really two awful things you can do. One is abuse people. And two is falsely accuse people of abuse. Like both those things are horrible. Yeah. You're basically saying that she was falsely accusing people and lying about having been abused. Having lived with her for a couple of years, what makes you come down on that side of the equation?
Her saying, I mean, she'd say, I mean, we'll move into, anyway, she just come out and say,
to the story,
but she said like, everyone's going to find out that I'm a fraud. Everyone's going to find out that I'm lying. Everyone's going to, and like,
so she would say things to you.
Yeah,
okay. And we're jumping around in the narrative, but just to be clear, so that people don't think we're just like carelessly invalidating actual abuse. Later in the story, you're going to tell us about times where she admitted to you that she was a fraud or lying to people. You you know, but also you're saying that the stories kept growing over time. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, everyone be like Blake and who had lived with her for years was like, I never heard any of that. Like, wow, why didn't you ever tell me any of that? And then they're like, oh yeah, we just can't talk about it. And then it was like, okay, well, can we look him up and contact the guy and go after him? She's like, no, don't go after him. Don't do this. And like, don't actually verify any of my information.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously people that follow the life of Joseph Smith are going to realize that, you know, the whole first vision story changed over time. The Aaronic and the Melchizedek priesthood story changed over time. And that there was this tendency of the story to get more and more fantastic over time. That's that's what that sounds like.
Exactly. I mean,
and then of course a trail of like witnesses that are claimed anti-Mormon, that are claimed haters of the church, but in reality they were actually firsthand witnesses. And there would be a lot of sense to tell people to stay away, because if they knew more factual stories and if they were actually there and were eyewitnesses, they could discredit the narratives that were being told at any given time. And you're saying that that's what you experienced. Do you have any sense that she ever talked to the police? Now this is the thing that always, and again, go read Remembering Satan by Lawrence Wright, go read Mistakes Were Made But Not By Me, or Demon Haunted World, because this whole satanic ritual abuse thing, this whole false memory thing, implanted memories, it's a whole thing that wrecked thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people's lives. I'm not going to be able to recount it all in this episode, but it has major psychological sort of negative implications, fraud, scandal, false accusations, malpractice, like it's a whole thing. So check that out or read those books. But all that was interwoven in Teal's story, which is part of why I was interested in it.
yeah.
And so as you read about the satanic ritual abuse panics, you find out that there's never, like literally, I interviewed a world's expert in satanic ritual abuse claims. These claims have been going on for millennia, but like they have scoured police, reports and is there any actual evidence of any of this abuse ever happening? And there's never any instance, like with child abuse. Yes, there are convictions and evidence and courts and there's evidence that actual abuse happened. There are witnesses. And there's convictions and there's police reports, right? But with any of this stuff, there's never any of that. So do you have any sense that she ever turned this guy into the police, that he was ever convicted, that there was any evidence for any of this stuff?
So she said she turned it into the police, but that they didn't do anything about it. And that she turned in like an eyeball and this and that she had saved and all this stuff. Her stories were
from corpses and people that were killed.
Yeah,
and
all sorts of crazy stuff and burials and all sorts of things.
So that people were being killed and buried and tortured, all as a part of her growing up.
Oh yeah, it was just,
and this is all a time when she's like going to Logan High School, like living in the community.
Oh yeah.
And again, you're saying her parents do not express any confirmation of any of these things.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't really talked about whenever her parents are around. It's kind of like it just didn't happen. And
when her parents were around.
Yeah. And so, I mean, sometimes they would a little bit, but it was just like, they were like, we didn't know. Like, that was the thing that was kind of confusing. It's like, they were like, we didn't know he was a bad guy. But, I'm not sure how much time she actually spent with him that she said she did. Supposedly, he said later in the interview, the guy, that she didn't spend much time with him, except she liked horses and he was a veterinarian and she would learn about horses and try to guess like if they were pregnant or not and try to practice her clairvoyance stuff. And he would just laugh and be like, I don't know what you're talking about. But anyways.
And that was one of the most troubling things about this Remembering Satan book, which is the account of an actual satanic ritual abuse scandal that broke out in Washington State, I think in the Spokane area. But once teenage girls start accusing people of sexual abuse, it can get to the point where parents feel like they have to choose between keeping their daughter in their lives or rejecting their daughter's story and losing their child. And so the way that Remembering Satan culminates is in the dad, who is a police officer, actually admitting to satanic sexual abuse that he never actually believed ever happened. But because of implanted memories and psychotherapists and clergy that got involved, he ends up admitting to abuse that he never actually remembered. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But out of a desperation to like not want to invalidate his daughter's story and to not lose her from his life, he ends up going to prison for sexual abuse that he never remembered actually, not just sexual abuse, satanic ritual abuse that he never remembered actually happening. But if his daughter claimed it, it must be true. And again, in the Remembering Satan book, the stories got wilder and wilder and wilder and wilder to where the parents were like sacrificing animals and having their own children have sex with each other. And this was a policeman and his wife, like living in a normal community, and they never remembered any of that, but they remembered it through these hypnosis / religious / cultish kind of interrogation accusation techniques. And you just have to read these books to understand what was going on. So does this strike a bell?
Yeah, I mean, like, so, yeah, I don't know where we're at. So I move into were we talking about her upbringing still?
Yeah, her upbringing.
Okay, so supposedly she was like a supermodel and that she would fly around the world, and she went to like Playboy Mansion and all this stuff in high school. And then she was dating, I think in high school, like a famous hockey player. She keeps a picture, which I think is fine, I guess, of every boy she's ever dated, and she's got like a book, and it's just like a catalog of just like, I'm not sure if I just got deleted out of that catalog, but just all these guys. And then she keeps like a binder of all of her nude photography that she's done, and her attempts to like get famous. And I think her other thing that she really wanted to do is become like Olympic skier or ice skater or something like that. And she said she was trying to do all that. And but again, I don't know how much of this is true as far as like anything she said about her past, because she said she moved in with her, I think her Indian boyfriend in high school, Native American boyfriend in high school. And yeah. So what happened after that? She met, I think, Blake, or she was doing skiing in Park City and met Blake, and then she met Mark. She married Mark. She had a baby, and yeah. And it was Blake, Mark, and her living together. And then later it came out that her and Blake were, I don't know what they were doing sexually, but Mark didn't think it was going on while he was married, and he was pretty pissed about it. So anyways, so
so she was married before you met her. She had been married
a couple of years, 3 years or more.
Once, or?
Oh, she had been married before, supposedly. And that person like just left her on the side of the road, which is pretty sad, I think. Yeah, and it just ended that way. It was just kind of a quick marriage, supposedly. So,
okay. So she was on her second marriage when you met her?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
it was a house in Park City, and I had moved up there because I was like trying to build, like, I was trying to actively build a communal family and like actively do all this stuff to help make the world better, that I thought. So, I mean, I'd take my part in this. Like, I helped, make it worse, I guess, to some degree. So I made her website better. I made her more accessible. I tried to create tools that I thought might help, that we designed together on our website, of like techniques to like change the way you think in order to alleviate, old thoughts, patterns, and stuff like that. So then we moved up there. It was me, Graciela, and I forgot her name, but and Flavia. I think it was something with a C, like Carmen, or sorry, forgot your name. Not very good with names. Anyways, we lived, I think they rented an apartment, and then Justin came up there too, and they were like, we'd all go over and help every day, and then they'd go to work. And so we were all living in this house together. And
with Teal?
Yeah, with Teal. Well, 4 of them lived off site, and I lived with Teal and Blake and Mark. And Teal was like...
Teal was married at the time.
Yeah, and Teal was like getting very comfortable and like...
How was she making the rent? How was she paying the mortgage or the rent?
So Blake and Mark worked. and she would collect
Were
money
they just
from
followers
selling.
of her, believers in her?
I think they kind of knew she was just not all the way there, or out of it, but they just kind of loved her, and it was like it was beneficial. It's a beneficial relationship for them.
How are they benefiting?
Well, I think just because like they get some love and affection and attention and safety, and it's a group, and I don't know.
It's a community, it's
yeah.
belonging.
Yeah.
There was probably some
Somewhat like
sexual intimacy involved, emotional intimacy involved.
Yeah.
So were there a couple men she was in some way sexually involved with at the time?
But I don't know, like, because I don't trust her and she's just a complete liar about so many things. I think like when they'd go on a trip together, just the two of them, I'm sure they'd sleep together, they'd come back and so I think is polyandry, but she's just like kind of denying it, not really accepting it, or didn't think it was bad if it wasn't all the way sex, or I don't know what her thinking. I mean, those are things she had mentioned, but like I don't know the extent of everything. So we're living together, and
so it's you, her, and two other guys.
Yeah, everyone. Blake has his own room. I'm sleeping on a cot, and Mark and her sleep in a room. I'm sleeping on a cot, working really hard to try to fix the house. She wanted like a little attachment room built, and I like built it as best as I could. It was kind of just like putting a wall on a little area, and it wasn't very nice, but I did the best I could. And then without proper tools, and then I was working there, and then she got more comfortable with me, like cuddling and resting her breasts on me or whatever, just kind of like getting more comfortable. And I was like, this is awkward because of this. And she's like, so like, why does that have to be a big deal? Like, and she got more and more excited about me, I think, and I got more excited about her. And then it was eventually like, see, the things you don't know is that we're meant to be together. You were always meant to be with me. And she would like remember things about my past and like put them together. She's like, I was stuck in Pleasant Grove in 2009, but you were never there to pick me up on the side of the road. Because I told her I lived in Pleasant Grove, so she'd pick stuff up and put it together, and be like, and I'm like, I won't mess it up this time. So she's married with someone saying that we're meant to be together, and then she starts to have like a panic attack, and like freak out about it, and then Mark obviously is upset because, I told him we were meant to be together. I was like, this is going to happen. This is what she said. And I just repeated it. I was like, this is going to happen now or eventually. And he like kind of attacked me, but I just didn't do anything. And
like physically attacked you?
And he just like, okay, get out of my house, So they kicked me out of my house, the house that I moved there. And I packed up my stuff and just left. And then Blake was like trying to be nice. It's like, I think you're going to be moving back. It's going to be okay. And trying to smooth everything over. And so I go out of the side, walk out of the house, and I walk down the road, and I just wanted to die. I just felt so horrible and confused. And I went to like a veterinary clinic down the road, and I just kind of slept on the front grass, and the police officer came because they don't like hobos hanging around there. And so he took me to a McDonald's. Police officer, really nice, and took me to McDonald's, and then I called my uncle. My uncle let me live with him, and I had all these paintings and printouts of Teal's paintings that were supposed to raise your vibration. So I like kept them with me, and I was telling them all about Mormonism and like that they're reptilians and I'm a reptilian. Oh yeah, because there's so much crap that she believes in.
What do reptilians have to do with anything?
So supposedly I was a reptilian. And people were watching this. It's so funny when they make the videos of people that are reptilians, because if they make any facial movements, I have like, when I was 9 months old, I had eye surgery. And so my eyes are going to twitch around a lot. And I'm a very animated person, but I'm sure someone's going to be like, no, he's a reptilian.
What's a reptilian?
So it's a human alien that like transforms into, so like David Icke and all those people, like I think he started it or somebody did, but he's just like, all the elite people in the world are reptilians, and they like to eat humans, and they can shape shift and do all this crazy stuff.
And she told you were a reptilian?
Yeah.
And so you believed you were a reptilian?
Yeah. And so we get in like these big groups, and they started doing like these like broadcasts, where they call them like Shadow House. I think that was like after I'd moved back, but where we would just share with all of our feelings and darkness, and Teal would just kind of berate anyone that didn't fall in line, and kind of like a group getting people on the same page and the same thoughts. And if there's someone she didn't like, or, they had a reptilian tag in them, or they were an alien, or they were a bad person, or, I mean, we're all supposedly aliens from other planets. That's why we're all together. So there's reptilian and Arcturus, and I can't remember all the names, but there's just all these.
So she's naming you all, telling you all what planet you're from?
Yeah, so it's like a planet or a star system, and then there's a type of alien that lives there. Some of them all came from the same spot, and others of them came from other spots.
And you were all sent here destined to
help raise the vibration in the world.
But you would have, like, at this point, you would have thought, okay, I was born from my mom. Like, my dad, I mean, we would have been raised to think your parents had sex and you were born from your mom.
Yeah,
but she's telling you you're a reptilian. How do you make sense of that?
So it's like a spiritual projection that comes through. It's like your spirit's that or something, or you can just like manifest it or something like that. It's just, I don't know.
And this is why I bring in Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, because I just watched like a 2-hour series on Dateline or whatever it's called, and basically, if it's true that all these people that have died around them, her 2 kids, her ex-husband, his wife, what they're saying the philosophy was behind it is that they weren't actually those people. They were like demonically possessed zombies, they're calling them. So this belief in spirits and possession and other, reincarnation and all this stuff leads to these weird beliefs about, and that she believes she's an angel or that she's like a god. Like all these weird beliefs about people and possessions and spirits seem to be part of kind of what ends up being very dangerous cults. And I just have to call that out because it's kind of relevant. So anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like all of this like stuff that we develop like in this mind, it's like a mental world of this imagination is just a way of, instead of like dealing with the actual emotions and feelings that we have, creating, instead of like being like, oh, I don't like this person. Why? Because he does this, he has this weird tick, and I am angry at myself because I have that same weird tick and I haven't forgiven myself. And so therefore I'm projecting onto this person. No, he's a demon, or he's a reptilian, or he's sent here to like do this stuff. And it was so she wanted to get a lot of events and a lot of money. It was a huge focus on money, and she wanted the money for herself, and she'd feel bad if she took the Teal Eye money for herself. And we're like, no, you deserve
What's Teal Eye?
So that's the name of her company, Teal Eye LLC.
So you helped her. She started that while you were with her?
Yeah, I kind of helped, but I think she'd already started it, and she'd already got it going, and I tried to help with whatever I could.
And how was she making money? Where was the money coming from?
So selling paintings that could do anything from keel aids to like give you your perfect lover, and
so paintings with special powers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you could, if you wear the print of them, it would also help you. And yeah, so I had a bunch of those paintings, and
were they good paintings? Was it good art?
It's just like, like you ever see those 3D eye magic ones, magic 3D eye ones? They're just like weird designs. Just like, yeah, with like black outline and different pen colors. Anyways, no, I mean, they're just colorful, weird stuff.
Okay. So
she's selling like $200, $800, $1,000. Some of them, like, she's selling all prints for a lot of money, and she's making good money off of.
And you said she's feeling bad for taking the money. Why?
So she was supposed to use the Teal Eye money to help change the world and do stuff, but then she's like, well, I need money for winter, my kids and stuff like that. And we're like, oh yeah, you shouldn't feel bad for that. But like her goal was always to make more money, and it was always like something that was in me, like I had to make more money. So I got a job, and I got a job working remotely, doing DevOps and stuff like that. And so I was making pretty good money compared to everyone else, and all the money was just like getting funneled to her.
So you would just give her your money?
Yeah. Well, I guess I would just spend my money on whatever they wanted, pay the mortgage, and they helped pay too. And I think, or not at first, but, and so
I mean, and this reminds me of like, Martin Harris and the early friends of Joseph Smith and early church history, how it's a really integral part of being success to be able to get people to believe in you, to invest in you, to donate, and to then sort of like pay for your life, right? And to claim special powers. Like that's all fitting to, and that's Jim Jones, that's David Koresh, that's, you know.
Yeah, so a lot of people donated to her. She had like a donate button, and a lot of people would send thousands of dollars. And so the YouTube videos made money, all this stuff. And
Donations, selling paintings.
selling anything they could, you know, to make money.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
Books.
Okay.
So
Books? She wrote books?
Yeah, she wrote books.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing how, like, and I think people don't realize how, so, like, and this is kind of weird, but you can tell me to just shut up. But, like, I don't think people realize how easy it is to fake stuff and how easy it is to just BS stuff.
Talk about that.
So, like, I'm just going to now divinely channel my inner soul, and I'm going to say the truths that are here for all of you listening. This is my true self speaking to you right now. You need to hear my voice. This is the voice of your past and your future. Feel this truth. Like, I'm just bullshitting you. But this is what people do, and they can talk so intensely. And I can feel the spirit right now, whatever you want to call it, the tingling that comes whenever you get emotional or whatever it is. And that's just like, it happens to all of us. Like, we can all feel that way, and we can all convince people and take on a persona, especially if you're a really good actor. So, like, I could have kept going and telling you all sorts of things about the future or the past or anything. And it's bullshit, but it's ability that some people have. And it doesn't make them any worse or better. It's just something that they can do. So enjoy it if you love it. It's your life. But don't feel held hostage to whatever anyone says.
So she would do that?
Oh, yeah. So she would channel.
Channel, what does that mean to channel?
So she would lay on there and just be like...
Lay where?
Lay out on the couch or anywhere and just all of a sudden, like, access a supposed higher dimension and, like, her different self. And you could ask her questions and she would answer them in a different voice. And
As another being?
As another being, yeah.
Okay. And so people just sit around and watch her do that?
Yeah. She did that a couple times. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else...
And like, how is the following growing? So like, she's getting viewers on YouTube. She's got some guys living with her, but I mean, you think about like Jesus and 12 apostles and then a bunch of followers. Does it start growing as a physical in-presence movement with a growing crowd of physical followers? Does that make sense?
Like there literally, is that what you're saying?
Or meetings, weekly meetings, monthly meetings.
It wasn't monthly meetings, but they would have like these events around the world and like thousands of people. I don't know how many thousands. There was like a couple hundred. I don't know what the number's at to now.
So through her YouTube channel, she would say, I'm going to be in Phoenix or I'm going to be in London.
And people would pay a couple $100 to listen to a couple $100 3 hours or something.
To watch. And Julie Rowe is doing this right now. If you go look at Julie Rowe's website, she travels around the world and speaks and charges for workshops,
People need people, and we need to gather. Like we want that so badly. And any excuse to do that is an excuse. And it's just, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, after leaving Mormonism, like I've still yearned to like be a part of a group of anything. And so I think it's just a common thing. Like people will lie, cheat, steal, or kill in order to be loved and accepted and be a part of these things. And so it's normal human behavior. And I think if you can take it for what it is like an enjoyable event, great. But if you're holding yourself hostage, like mentally, that this has to be done or like something bad will happen, or your fear, it's like if they've convinced you of some pain, feel bad. If you don't do this, bad things will happen. That's where they've got you. That's where they control you, is to think that if you don't do this, this will happen or bad things will happen. And so you're held.
Fear.
Fear and pain.
Yeah. I'll just say, I try to be introspective and I have a donate button. People donate. I run a nonprofit. I hold events. Yeah. I coach people, and so, some would say I have a following. I definitely have listeners, viewers, YouTube. Like in some ways, I've done a lot of these same things. So I have to think about what's the difference between me and Teal Swan or Julie Rowe. And the only thing I can say is I claim no special powers. I don't claim to have the way. I got 6 years of a formal PhD in psychology from an APA accredited university. And I'm trying to use all that to just help people out of a crisis that I didn't create, which is people's faith crisis, and helping them transition to a better life. But I don't have special powers. I don't claim to know the way. I'm just sort of helping people make that transition. Other than that, I have an organization that in some ways reminds me, but I don't have paintings with special powers, and I don't claim supernatural abilities, or I try to have evidence-based recommendations, whether it's anxiety or depression, or I refer to experts. I don't try and treat people for things that are outside of my credentialing or expertise. I don't try and treat depression. I don't try and treat anxiety. I don't try and treat PTSD. I refer experts all the time for those things, but I'm also educated on evidence-based practices so that I can discern the difference between a faith crisis and like a marriage that needs a therapist or whatever it is. So anyway, I don't mean to tie it back to me, but I just want to be self-aware that in some senses we're highlighting a lot of things that I also in my organization also do. So anyway, I just feel like I had to say that to not look totally non-self-aware.
Yeah. And I think the main point is that if you're being held, like I said, by fear or pain, like you have to do this or bad things will happen, or like you're trying to right a horrible wrong, like at all costs, like the greater, it's like at the end of every movie, the bad guy always says like his original pain, like when I was 5 years old, I watched my mother die and this, what I mean? They always tell their story and they're holding on to some pain. It's all about forgiveness and letting go. And that's like the root of all evil is holding on to it. And the happiness is forgiving and letting go and changing the narrative. Looking back on your past of like living with Teal Swan as something hilarious. Like I thought I was reptilian, you know what I mean? Like that's so funny. Like how could you think that? And it was just like, now I can see that. At the time it was, traumatic and dramatic because every day living with her was like a year. It seemed forever because everything was, we've got to hurry. We've got to do this. And like everything was like drama and things were going on, and we had to stop her, like find her and catch her from cutting herself and prevent her from hurting herself wherever she was at. And then she was like, if she wasn't getting, I think she would do that if she wasn't getting enough attention, but there could be other things involved because I feel like I could suck the oxygen out of the room pretty easily, getting pretty excited and friendly and everything. And so I think she kind of did things to combat that, or she's just legitimately suffering. And either way, it's sad. It's very sad. Like I honestly wish Teal the best. Like I love her as a person and we shared a time together and yeah.
But the things I want to call out are claiming special powers. That seems wrong if you don't really have them. Relying on quack, supernatural, kind of new agey science to cure things when there's no at all empirical evidence that those are two things, and then just making up lies. So I'm trying to think about the difference between me and what she's doing.
Gotcha.
Those are three things that come to mind. And then I want to talk about your relationship with her specifically. Those are just things I want to at least specifically call out.
Yeah.